Josh Kraushaar was wondering, why are we playing Barry Manilow? Josh, it's because he's going to break Elvis's consecutive performance record this week in Las Vegas. I know you're a secret Barry Manilow fan. Josh just made a little news on the program. Robert O'Brien saying he is not going to run for Senate in Utah. I am a little disappointed by that. I saw Waltz and Gallagher and a bunch of people pile on pushing him. Jim Banks, are you surprised?
A little. He would have been a very strong candidate as someone with the national security experience, and Utah Republicans are a very pragmatic bunch, and they value experience. That's why Romney won the nomination back in 2018. I think you'll have a lot of qualified candidates. The former Speaker of the House is one of the leaders right now in the pack, but I imagine a lot of folks are going to get in. And the one thing about the Utah Republican Party is it is more that there's a very sizable group of Republicans that are much more in Mitt Romney's vision of the party as Donald Trump's. So it'll be a real fight and a real debate over the ideology.
Jason Chaffetz would clear the field. Jason Chaffetz would clear the field and he would win. And my guess is that Steve Daines has got him on the phone right now. Do you think he'll get in? I mean, that's a nice gig over at Fox, but he'd be senator for the next 40 years if he wanted to.
Yeah, look, it's got to be a possibility. Anyone who has the opportunity to run for Senate and have a good profile in that race is going to probably look at it carefully. But I do think that former Congressman Chaffetz is pretty happy at Fox, and I think it would take a lot for him to jump in that race.
How did you assess Kristen Welker's interview with former President Trump yesterday?
I thought it was a good interview, and I think whenever you get the left and the right upset about various elements of the interview, it usually signals that you're asking the tough questions and you're asking the relevant questions. And I thought he made a whole lot of news on abortion. I mean, look, that's going to be a big issue if there is a substance centered element of this Republican nomination fight, it's going to be over abortion. And Trump clearly sees the issue as a problem in a general election for him and for Republicans, and he's trying to get ahead of that. But he still has to win over Iowa voters in a caucus. He still has to win over socially conservative voters across many, many primaries. So that's going to be an issue, I think, that's going to come up at the next debate. Trump is trying to take a very pragmatic position on abortion, but I don't know if that's going to fly with some conservatives.
Josh, I have a strong view on this, in that everyone on the stage has been asked and have answered the abortion question. If it's genuinely to serve Republican primary voters, there's no reason to bring it up again when we still haven't covered China, inflation, the border, COVID, all these different things. I just don't think abortion, asked and answered, do we have to do it every debate? Is that what you think?
Well, look, Hugh, there is a divide politically on whether there should be a federal legislation on abortion, right? On 15 weeks, on a stricter abortion policy, which Mike Pence, Tim Scott support, but Nikki Haley has pushed back on, and a few others as well. And also, look, this is an issue that's very important to Iowa conservative voters. That is having a firm pro-life position and having an unequivocal position in many ways, taking the more conservative line on the subject, has always been a top issue for Iowa caucus goers. So look, Trump I think has changed the dynamic. The issues don't matter quite as much as the personalities right now. But if there is an issue that does come up in the Iowa caucuses, which is Ron DeSantis, Ron DeSantis is putting all the chips on the table in Iowa. And I got to think that abortion is going to be one of the big issues he talks about going forward.
I know, but that, to this point, this is a big meta issue. Everybody knows it's an issue. Everybody knows what each of the candidates think. What is the value in limited debate time of going there? And we spent a lot of time in the first debate on it. If the former president comes, maybe you ask him in that context. But again, if they're bringing it up at this debate on the 27th, it's to serve ratings, not Republican voters.
Well, look, I think it's important on any issue, even if it's already been talked about. I mean, we saw that in 2008 or in other Republican primaries. A lot of issues about national security. We asked it over and over again because there were differences on specific policy proposals at the time. So, look, I don't think this is an issue that is lacking political relevancy. It's going to be a big dividing line between the candidates as we get closer to the caucus.
Well, it is. It's just that we know what the answers are. I hate wasting time. I want to hear them talk about things that they've not talked about before. Josh, at this point, I think it's one-on-one DeSantis and Trump in Iowa, but I don't think DeSantis is playing in New Hampshire. And because I'm in Maine, I get the Portland feed. Chris Christie's got ads up on Hulu already. I'm astonished.
This is the problem for anyone not named Trump, which is that if Ron DeSantis puts all his chips in Iowa and takes the most socially conservative position on abortion, that is not going to play well with New Hampshire voters, a couple weeks later. And what we've seen in the history of Republican nominating fights, where the Iowa winner doesn't always do well after Iowa.
I know. We'll see. That music means Monday Night Football is starting, Josh. The Browns are on tonight. Don't miss it. They're going to beat the Steelers.